It's the final chapter. It's the I'm sorry, how much did it make? Okay, when we said final, we didn't mean final. No. We meant final as in this year.
Friday the 13th, Part 5. It was called Repetition. Actually, when I auditioned for it, so I didn't know it was a Friday the 13th movie or anything to that nature. I just knew it was Repetition, a horror film, and so I actually thought it was a comedy.
They weren't saying that it was a Friday the 13th because at that time, I think it already had cult status, and they didn't want people like coming out and wanting big money for this project.
I went up to Boston to sign on as a director and writer. I believe I signed right there. I had told my son that I was offered Friday at 5, and he kind of went ballistic. I didn't realize that it had such a following.
I remember seeing the first day that it opened, and I went with my best friend to a theater, and I had no idea the status that the movie had reached. And when he rises up out of the grave, I mean, people were standing up in their seats. Whoa, yeah! And I was like, okay, this is a little bit creepy.
My agent then called later on, a couple days later, and said I'd gotten the part. So now I have to sort of figure out, well, who is this Jason guy anyway? Because I don't know.
In 5, A New Beginning, they, of course, everybody has always said, it's an imposter, not the real Jason.
Well, what the hell does that mean? It's a guy in a hockey mask running around with a machete killing people. It's close enough.
I had a Jason mask that had the little blue diamonds on it as opposed to the red. However, I did play the real Jason in a couple of the scenes where you see a flashback. So I really was wearing the original mask in a couple of the scenes.
I learned a lot from Tom later about how stuntmen try to copy the guy that they're doubling. And which must have been a difficult thing for Tom if he was trying to do that all, because Tom and I are totally different.
Actually, when I did the show, I wasn't trying to differentiate. I was trying to be Jason at all times, because the point of it was that this was a Jason character, and if the audience would buy that this is Jason, that's what we're looking for, and we'd reveal what it was later.
It's the actor's problem, trying to figure what is going to make me want to kill all these people. All right, a tragedy. Okay, so we know what the tragedy is. Now we have to let that affect me as much as it can, and to drive Roy a little nuts. No, a lot nuts. And to where he got the idea to try to be Jason was in the news. He was counties away, but he was in the news, and everybody knew who he was. So he took on that, at least in my mind, we took on that idea to make him hide from the fact that he was doing it, so I'll just be somebody else. But any actor would sort of do the same thing. Because if you don't believe it up here, nobody else is going to believe it.
Doing a show off and on called Different Strokes, playing Gary Coleman's best friend, and all of a sudden, I'm in this horror film, and halfway through the film, they're like, this is a Friday the 13th film.
Solid.
So I got excited, especially when I realized I got to run Jason over with a tractor. Did I really drive that tractor? I'm not telling. I drove the tractor! Well, I love the red suit. I mean, I think they had 100 to 150 of those suits just on hand because there was a lot of fake rain. I think it had something to do with just blood and just me being covered in the blood. I like to say I was covered in the blood of Jesus personally, but that's, that's my personal religious preference.
Hi, Violet.
Huh? Violet, you said too many places. Huh?
The wardrobe called and said, we're going to go shopping. I got to pick the clothes. I got to pick the song that was in it. It's like it was very hands-on, and I was very much a part of bringing the character to life. My part of Violet didn't seem like a primary part in the film, but it's very interesting to see how much attention the dance scenes got. It's kind of a cross between pantomime and a robot. You're kind of acting out a drama, so you're listening to the words of the song, and you got to act it out,
Friday the 13th Part 5 has the worst reputation, bar none, of any of the sequels, and it's absolute bullshit. It has this incredible mix of just sleazy atmosphere, pitch black humor. I mean, as dark a humor as I've ever seen in any horror film.
Oh, God!
Bunch of pussies.
And I think people weren't really ready for that. I think it was a complete tonal shift in many ways from the previous sequels, and they never went that way again.
Part 5 probably for me was one of the most difficult scores, not because it was a hard score to write. It was difficult for me to wrap my head around what was going on. I always kept the idea of what Friday the 13th sounded like to be about Jason and try to keep that focus. Friday 5 felt like a Jason film, but in my heart I knew it wasn't. The essence of that picture is Jason and not about, like, well, Jason can be someone who kills for some whatever reason or something like that. That's not it. For me, I did what I was trying to do, which was, again, make it seem like Jason. That was my job, so I just, kept pouring on the Friday the 13th. Then at the end, reveal, oh my God, it's the ambulance driver.
They were so afraid that you would give the ending away somehow. In fact, I had to sign a statement saying that I would not divulge the ending of the film to anyone. And to make sure of that, they left the last 3 or 4 pages blank in the script, so it wasn't even in writing.
The scene where the MPAA just destroyed the whole reason for the scene being there was not a moment of horror or too much blood or too much graphic violence. It was a love scene. Some people knew that I had shot a pornographic film. We had a good-looking guy, a good-looking girl. I think it would have been something that the audience would be able to relax for a while and watch two people just having fun with each other. Instead, there's a guy watching and our attention turns to him, and then basically he dies. And when we go back to the love scene, it's over. It never happened. It just never happened. Every 7 or 8 minutes, they wanted me to shoot some kind of a jump, scare, or a kill, preferably kill. Other than that, I pretty much had free reign over the film.
Eddie, we can't. That'll kill us.
Fuck him.
Fuck you.
Exactly.
See, having sex in these movies kind of triggers a kill, or doing drugs.
Especially for the occasion.
Another scene where the MPA played the editor was the killing of the waitress's boyfriend. Incidentally, the guy who was doing the chopping on the fake head was more and more nauseated by it. He said later on that he was close to vomiting, close to fainting.
The head was, of course, like a real mock-up head. And even though it was, of course, a fake head, it gave you a moment to think because you're actually... As a stuntman, we always try to make things look real, but for the most part, when we're hitting somebody, particularly in the head, we're always missing and using a camera angle. For me to actually take that action was a little different.
The Friday the 13th series has had a long, very proud history with the makeup effects, throughout the whole series. And with Final Chapter, I know a lot of people say that the Jason makeup in that is one of the best in the series, and that, Savini coming back and doing the effects was a real high point. But, personally, and this is just my opinion, I think it's kind of overrated. I think the work in it, is really kind of overrated. I meant underrated. Underrated really is what I meant to say, because there's really no way you could emphasize genius on that level. It's that's how I would view it.
The final spear that kills Demon is a spear that actually goes through his back and through his stomach, and Demon sacrificed himself for the film. He actually he passed away. We couldn't revive him. Yeah. But no, it came out pretty good. The only trouble was that you didn't see much blood. And I don't think that was the MPAA's fault. I think it might have been mine.
For me, Part 5 deserved so much better, and it's about time people just owned up to the fact that Part 5 is a very underrated movie.